Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mike and this is Build and Tinker, and today is not a build day, it's a mod day. We are doing the much anticipated mod from Mike Lane Mods. We have here our Bat Circuit. This is the full replacement electronics kit for the 1966 Batmobile from Fanhome Agostini. Replaces the stock board, works with the Bat Beacon, and I can't wait to get it installed and show you what it can do. So let's get modding. So here it is, finally the Bat Circuit, much anticipated. Went on pre-order a few weeks ago and has started landing on people's doorsteps over the last few days. And it's unusual from Mike in that he's made a departure from his yellow packaging, this wonderful red and black packaging for the Bat Circuit, and I think it really truly deserved it. And you can't see that on camera, but this is all really nicely glossed, this part, so a wonderful piece of packaging for a great mod. I have opened it because I put a post on Facebook on the day it arrived, and someone asked if they could see what was inside, so I unpacked it and put it back in, but that's as much as I have done so far. So let's start by opening up and see what we have. So very first thing out of the box here is the magnetic power cable. Now, if you're familiar with Mike Lane's Ultimate kits, you'll know he did one for the Knight Rider car, and they power the entire vehicle via USB-C, so no more batteries, no more running out of power. And this one's slightly different in that it attaches to the car magnetically, which is really very cool. So it has a magnetic connector which can rotate in any, oh there we are, can you see, in any direction, and it can rotate in 360 degrees while attached to the car. So that's pretty cool. There's a braided cable. I don't know how long it is, but it looks like it's probably going to be about 2 meters, looking at how much is pulled up there. We also have this short extension cable, USB. That's for inside the car. We'll explain a bit more about that later. And we have some packets. So in this packet here is the speaker, the power connector board, and the SD card. They're all on one board, and they go where the battery box currently resides. This is where all the magic happens. I'll get these out in a second, but this is the full replacement PCB. It replaces the stock part, and it is the brains of the operation. A really wonderful addition here is this replacement bat phone. It illuminates, unlike the stock one. You can also take the receiver off, it's magnetic, and it comes with the LED pre-installed. An important part is the instruction card. It's double-sided because there are 2 modes to the car. So we have our standard controls, and then we have music controls. So when it's in music mode, the buttons have a slightly different function. We'll get to that a bit in a second. We have this, which is another LED attached to a bracket, and this is to make the interior light of the car illuminate. It comes with a light housing and a lens, but no LED. So this is to give that function. We also have a packet of screws and the RF remote control. So it's a 12-button remote. Anyone who has the kit, Ultimate Kit, will be familiar with this remote. It was also used for some of the DeLorean kits, and that's a good quality remote, works really well. Some warnings about magnet safety, because there's magnets in here. Please remember, these are not toys. They're not to be given to children who might swallow the small parts. And then this here is a card to explain what's happening with the afterburner. Now, there was a really basic, not particularly good afterburner function with the stock car that just illuminates an LED. It doesn't look anything like a flame. Mike has made a realistic looking sort of flame piece that goes in the rear of the car and is illuminated with a flame effect. Now, I started building this model from day one. I was one of the first people to order it, and I'm receiving the parts at the same speed as everyone else. And anyone else who's doing this model knows we haven't got that far yet. Nobody knows what the diameter of the back part of the afterburner enclosure is. because no one's had one. So Mike hasn't had one either. So he has designed a flame, but until he receives that last piece of the car, and I think it literally is one of the last pieces, he won't know for sure what the precise dimensions need to be for how to attach it to the car. So once he's got that, he'll be producing these at presumably some record pace, and then he will ship them out separately to everyone who has bought the Bat Circuit. So it's included in the price. You're just going to have to wait to get it, but you can't fit it yet anyway because none of us have that part of the car. So the first thing we're going to need to do probably is get all this off the bench again, get the car up and start removing the pieces we need to remove and preparing the car for the installation. In order to do that and know what we have to do and in what order, as always with Mike's mods, we have a barcode, a QR code on the back of the box. So we're going to scan that, and that's going to bring up the installation instructions. So with the instructions loaded to my phone here, we start with just making sure that we've got everything we need. Now, as Mike mentions in his instructions, we need a decent PH0 screwdriver. Well, I have one of those. I've got these from Mike. They're part of a set. I never did a video on them, but I should really. They're part of a set where we have 6 screwdrivers. You'll notice they have yellow handles rather than the standard Vera green, and that is because they are ESD or electrostatic device safe. So they I prefer using these because they don't generate static or carry static. They're non-conductive. So really good if you're working anywhere near PCBs or circuit boards, which I am pretty much every day. So you need one of those. You also need a 5mm wood drill bit. So that is for drilling a hole in the base of the bat phone plinth. The stock one doesn't have a hole for us to be able to feed the cable and everything through, so we need to do that. That's pretty much the only thing you need to do in terms of modifying the existing parts of the car. Everything else is plug and play, just drops in, screws in. So let's see how much we need to prepare the car and prepare the Bat Circuit. Now, when you ordered your Bat Circuit, you would have chosen a language setting, which was how it's shipped by default. Now, within the Bat Circuit, it actually has English, French, and German languages built in. And when you choose online, you're simply choosing how it's shipped by default. And that's because there are some instructions that come from the speaker for the setup, which are they're spoken. So you want those in your own language. So if you chose the language when you checked out, then you shouldn't really need to do anything. You're either going to get it in English, French, or German as you selected. However, if you want to, you can change the language before you start. So to change the language, you simply take the SD card out of the SD card holder in the mod. The SD card holder is part of the speaker bracket. So let's open that up and have a look. So within this piece, we have, and in fact, there is a sticker on the front that says UK. I don't know if you can see that. And that's to show what language it's been installed in, it's been defaulted to, should I say. This panel here, very cool little panel. It has a speaker, it has the connector for power, which is the magnetic connector, it has a small button, and it has the micro SD card slot. So you can literally just push the SD card and slide it out of the slot. So on this card you have all sorts of files, sound files and config and what have you. So do approach with caution and don't change anything unless you're really sure you know what you're doing. Full instructions are on Mike's website. So if you pop the SD card into a Windows PC or an Apple Mac, you'll find in there a text file called config. And in there, config file is a whole bunch of different settings. And they're basically the default settings for how the model behaves when you first turn it on. The first of which is language. And that's under the setting lang for language. And you can either have it set to EN for English, FR for French, or DE for German. So we're going to pop the car back in. It's already set to UK English, so I don't really need to do anything. So the next thing we're going to do is prepare the car. So I'm just going to clear a bit of space on the table. Now I have built this car up to issue 80. In fact, that was the last video I've just finished filming. And you can really install this at any point, no matter where you are with the car. It just means you might need to strip some bits apart again by following the magazine instructions in reverse. However, Mike says that actually you can install this mod at any point really from issue 54, which I think is when the floor goes in, and we need the floor because that's where the PCB is attached. So with our car on the bench, one of the things we need to do is remove the centre passenger cell. Now we've not actually got to the point where we've screwed it in place, so that literally is just a case of lifting it out. I'm just going to pop that down on the floor for a second, and here we have the stock PCB and all of the LEDs and speaker and everything that came with it. Okay, so the very first thing we need to do is actually unplug all of the original LEDs and plugs and everything. Now when you're removing these, don't just pull on the cable, actually try and grab the plug itself, the white plastic element, and then with a fingernail, and then just gently pull it up. Okay, it should come up relatively easy, but just try not to pull on the plug. Some of these bits you're not going to use again, like the battery box, the switch, the speaker, but some parts like the LEDs you are going to use again, so you do need to take care of them. So we've unplugged all the LEDs. I'm just going to set them over there to one side. I've unplugged the battery box, the switch and the speaker. And using our screwdriver, we're going to unscrew the 4 screws that hold down the original circuit board. Now we'll keep these screws to one side because we are going to use them again. So there's our original circuit board taken out, and we will not be using this. So now we take the bat circuit itself. Now this is electronics, so we do need to be slightly careful with it. It's fragile, there's bits where it can break off, and also we don't want to shock it electrostatically. So it comes in an electrostatic bag. I'm not wearing nylon shoes or on a nylon carpet. I haven't rubbed any balloons up against my head recently, so I should be reasonably discharged, but I'm still going to very carefully extract this from the bag, holding it on the edge. One other thing to be wary of is on this corner of the bat circuit is a small wire antenna. That's the antenna for the RF remote control. So you want to be careful not to tear that off at any point when you're removing it from the bag or any other time. And the bat circuit is designed to drop into this aperture here, and it is shaped to exactly fit the hole. So it faces this way, and we can literally just drop it into place, and you will see there that it fits perfectly. It has 3 holes, not 4 that the original circuit board had, so we're going to gently screw it into place using the original screws. We don't need to go crazy tightening it up, just needs to hold it down. And then we have the bat circuit screwed into place now, and doesn't it look great? On the opposite side, we're going to install the interface panel for the audio, which means we need to take the battery box out first. And the battery box is held into place with 4 screws. And that's the battery box and battery cover removed. And we can drop the sound panel into place. So that's the sound panel. You'll see it is also shaped just like the bat circuit to drop perfectly into place. So being careful not to damage the cables, we'll just drop it into the hole. And it aligns itself because it's shaped perfectly. Now we can't use the original battery box screws for this because this panel's thicker, so we need the longer screws. But Mike has provided us with those in a packet here. And there's 4 of those, and they go into the holes in the same locations as the battery box. Again, we don't need to go crazy tightening them up. Gravity's going to do most of the work for us here. And we've tucked the cable underneath this little tab here, which is within Mike's instructions. And with that now installed, we can now plug this plug from the speaker into the socket here labelled Bat Sound. And you can just make sure you put them in the right way around. They'll only go in one way. If you're forcing it, then you've got it the wrong way around. The other cable that comes from the bat panel, the sound panel, is this one here. This is very, again, similar to what Mike's used on the kit dash. They are a very, very small connector. So you have to be really careful with them because Again, they will only go in one way round if you do it properly. If you're ham-fisted, you can force them in backwards, and then things are going to go quite wrong, and you're going to damage your bat circuit. So this goes into a socket over here next to the USB called micro SD, because it's the cable for the micro SD card. Now there is a grey cable on one side of this plug, and the grey cable in this instance is going to be facing me, so the opposite side to the USB. Now these are very similar to what, as I've said, what was used in the kit mod. Also they were used in the bat beacon. I did a video on the bat beacon and I was very clear about which way round to install these. Something like 500 people watched that video. One person managed to watch it and misunderstand what I said, put his plugs in the wrong way around and damaged his bat beacon, and then blamed me. Follow the instructions, pay attention to what I'm doing. You will see at the end that this works, so I've clearly done it correctly. If you can't follow instructions, then don't blame me, please. Okay, so the grey cable closest to me. And we just push it very gently. Again, these are very, very small sockets, very, very small plugs. Excess force could break either the circuit board or the plug. But you can see how easy that's gone in. If you do it the right way around, it just falls in. Okay, rant over. Next bit. So after that, there is one more cable to go in, which is this little USB extension lead. And that basically takes the power from our magnetic adapter over... Oh, you can't see it. So we have the magnetic adapter here on the sort of sound panel. Okay, so that there's a USB that sticks out of that. So we have to put one side of this over there, and then bring the other side over, and that's now going to provide power and data connection to the bat circuit. So we've got 3 cables now coming across between this panel and the bat circuit itself. You'll notice here we have the stock speaker and the stock switch, neither of which are needed anymore, and it's up to you. You can leave them in if you want, because you could just tuck the cables out of the way and be done with it. You then don't have to worry about storing them, so you could do that. I might just do that. The switch isn't going to do anything now. You don't need a power switch with the bat circuit installed, but again, if you want to just leave it there tucked out of the way, it's not going to hurt anyone, so we might just do that. The next part is the installation of, or at least plugging in, the bat beacon. Now let me give you a wider view. Here is the bat beacon, complete with the overhead bar all fully installed. The bat circuit supports either using Mike's bat beacon or the stock LED that came with it. There is a socket for both. I don't know why you'd want to go to all this effort and then not use Mike's bat beacon, but you can if you want. If you do choose to use the original LED and not Mike's bat beacon, you do have to make a change in that config file that I mentioned earlier. There is a setting in there for enabling use of the stock beacon. Full details of how to do that on the instruction sheet on Mike's website. The bat beacon, as we know, uses one of these very small cables again. It's an even smaller one. It's got 4 pins on it. It has a grey cable on one side, which makes it easy to orientate, and it's the same. The grey is going to be towards me. That socket is positioned just above the micro SD one, and it's labelled bat beacon. And again, it just pushes in real simple. So now we've got our bat beacon on the bench, plugged in. The next step is to install the bat phone. Now that does involve drilling a hole, which I'm not going to do on the bench here, because the drill I have is a pillar drill and it's in my workshop. So we're going to do that separately. You can literally drill through. So let's get the floor and I'll show you. So this is the floor of the car, and there's a center console, and then this is the plinth, as it were, the stand for the bat phone, and it sits just here, and there are 2 screws that hold this piece in place, one here and one here. We need to drill through where this screw hole is, and we can do it from underneath. With this in position, you could literally, if we put that in place and screwed in the top screw, we could literally drill through the whole lot in one go, and we'll have everything lined up in one perfect 5mm hole. I'm going to do that off camera a bit later. Right now, what I'm going to do is show you the Bat phone, because I think everyone wants to see that, and it really is quite cool. I take care getting it out of the bag. It is quite delicate. So here is the Bat phone. It has this long cable coming out for the LED, which is already pre-installed, and you have the receiver on the top, which literally comes off. There's a little magnet in it, and it's hard to see perhaps on screen, but you've also got the little holes in the mouthpiece and the receiver, and this wonderful cable, and it is an actual springy cable that goes between the two, and it literally just snaps into place. And that is an incredibly well detailed piece. I'm not sure my video does it justice. I think you really need to see it in person, because there's so much detail in it. So that's a really great piece of kit. But before we install that, we actually need to install the interior light. So here is the passenger cell from the Batmobile, and we actually need to, the interior light is here just behind the top of the fire extinguisher, so we're going to need to be able to get to the back of that. So in order to do that, we need to take this whole rear bulkhead panel out. So I'm just going to undo these 3 screws here at the bottom that hold the bulkhead in place, and then there's another one higher up. So those are CP screws, if I remember rightly, and then there's an AP screw that goes into the back of the console here. So we're just going to take that one out. Make sure we keep them separate so we know the different sizes. This whole bulkhead should in theory then just come out, which it does. And then in the back of the center console is this lens. So the lens stays where it is, but we need to take our new light, and so we've got an LED with a housing. So this is the LED and housing that Mike provides, and then that goes into the back. We take out the stock screw that holds this lens in. We're not using this one again, it's too short. So what we need for that instead is one of Mike's replacement screws that he's given us. And we pop the LED and its bracket, and it fits perfectly into that lens aperture. Just going to move these cables out of the way a little bit. And then we use the original hole, but we use a new screw, and we simply screw this bracket into place. And there we have our interior light installed. So obviously from this side it doesn't really look any different, and that's the whole point. The cable for this now needs to run down inside the gap in this part of the center console. So it runs down inside there. And then it's actually going to go in between the bulkhead and the floor. And there's enough of a gap that it's not going to pinch the cable. So gently replace this rear panel, and you can see the cables coming out through the back. There's actually quite a sizable gap there, so that's good. And we take the original screws that we just removed and reattach. We've got a piece of seat belt stuck through here, we don't want that. And that's the center screw, and just be happy that you're not pinching the cables any more than you're comfortable with. They seem fine to me on that one. And then this AP screw up here to help bring the center console in. There we go. And that's our interior light installed. So I've been to the workshop and I have drilled a hole here in the bat phone stand, plinth, whatever you want to call it. I drilled it from underneath and I went through the whole floor and bat phone base all in one action. I used a 5mm drill bit and I drilled very slowly. I used a wood bit, which is good for plastic when you're doing this, and I just drilled it slowly. And that's gone really well. So we can actually install the bat phone now, and it's pretty straightforward. We need to feed the plug from the cable through this hole we've just created and just tuck it into the recess underneath the the center console here. Obviously we need to make sure we face this the right way. Now the bat phone is not round, it's got like an elliptical base, but we obviously want the top facing the correct way, so that's going to sit in there like that. I'll zoom you in to see if you can see it a little better. So we've popped it on the base and it's just sitting there now, and it's shaped perfectly to fit in the recess that's in the Batmobile base. I don't know which way the cables are supposed to go, whether the cable went on Robin's side. It might be better if it goes that way round, and that way it's not faulting on this gear lever. I guess it's entirely up to you. Yeah, Mike has it facing with the cable out towards the passenger seat. So there is already installed a piece of double-sided sticky tape or pad on the bottom, so we just need to take the cover off of that, and then making sure we're happy that the cable's pulled through and the orientation is correct, we can now press the bat phone gently down onto the plinth. I'll push on the base, not the handset, and the handset comes off, which is quite useful. So there we go. That is now stuck firmly in place. We can put the handset back on like so. So much better than the stock one. And then the cable is now coming out underneath the floor of the car, and I'll just move that to one side just so you can see the circuit board. And then the cable for the bat phone goes into the socket labelled bat phone. On some boards it's labelled just with a P, but on all the later versions, bat phone. It works in the same way, it's only the label that's different. And then the one here from our interior light goes into the socket below called SW. So that plugs in there. Then the final step is to simply plug back in all the LEDs from the original bat circuit. So we reused them all. Now they are all labelled as they were before, and in most cases the label on the board matches the label on the LED. So very straightforward. There are two subtly different versions of the bat circuit PCB. One has a picture of a bat on it and one doesn't. The one without a picture of the bat has a very slightly different labelling. So check which one you have and then refer to the table on Mike's instructions as to which cables go into which sockets. Most of them are the same, there's just a couple of subtle differences. So for our board here, which is version 1.1, pretty much the labels just match the name. So we've got a G here and then we have a G on the board here. So I'm just going to do those one at a time. So that's G and H installed. They are the front turn signals. I'm just going to run them to the front of the car here just to get them out of the way. I'm not sure what path they take normally with the car. My guess is they run under the centre of the floor on that sort of transmission tunnel, which is pretty much where 90% of part works run their cables. But the cables are going to run in exactly the same way as they would have done based on the stock instructions. Headlights and taillights are in, and I'm just running them to the right end of the car. Again, just make sure you install the plugs the right way around. They will only fit one way, so if you're finding you're not getting them in easy, you may have them upside down. So that's all of the LEDs installed. We've got the front and rear lights, the front and rear turn signals, the detector scope, the dash lights, the afterburner, and the one LED we're not using, which is this one, which is L, which is the stock beacon. So I've just laid the lights out roughly where they end up in the car. Obviously we don't have any of the body panels yet, so I can't install the headlight lamps into the headlights, or same with the tail lights, because they have them. But what we will do is try and get them roughly in the right place to make the demonstration look a bit more realistic when we fire it up. So we finished installing all the LEDs, and I have dropped them roughly on the car where they're going to finally be. So up here we've got headlights, front turn signals. I've taped them onto the front wheels. We've got our beacon here, slightly off center so you can see the bat phone. This is our detector scope LED. There's an LED in the back of the compass. On the rear of the car, the 2 tail lights, the 2 turn signals, and here is the LED for the afterburner. You probably can't see it very well from that angle, but there's the LED inside here for the interior light as well. Now, in order to get started, we need to unpack our remote. This is a radio frequency remote, so it doesn't need a direct line of sight to the Batmobile in order to work. And it's been really nicely laser etched with the bat emblem there on the top of the remote. But it does need batteries, so let's open up the battery compartment. So it takes a standard set of AAA batteries, and they last ages in these. And then so we pop those in, and we'll do a quick test. You can see that there's a blue LED. So the next thing we need to do is apply power to the car and to program the remote. All these remotes are unique. They have a unique set of codes. And the beauty of that is that if you have multiple models, whether they're multiple Batmobiles, kits, Ectos, whatever you've got with the Mike Lane kit in, your remote will be unique to that model. Because of that, it needs to be coded to the car. There's a process for doing that, and it can be done at any time if you need to recode the remote because you've replaced it or what have you. Obviously, one of the first things we're going to need is to get our magnetic power cable and connect that to the car. I mean, the great thing about it being magnetic, of course, is that we don't have to fumble around trying to figure out where find the socket underneath it. In theory, should find itself. And so we're going to reach under the car, see if we can find the magnetic connector. Oh yeah, that's worked. We saw a flash.
The Batmobile is now in programmer mode. Press button 1 on your remote to start saving the button codes.
So there we are. The Batmobile has put itself into programmer mode, and as you probably heard there, it wants us to start coding the remote. So it's asked us to press button 1, so let's do that.
Now press button 2. Now press button 3. Now press button 4. Now press button 5. Now press button 6. Now press button 7. Now press button 8. Now press button 9. Now press button 10. Now press button 11. Now press button 12. Saving codes to memory, you can now test each button. If you are happy they are correct, you can restart the Batmobile by unplugging and reconnecting power. If you would like to start over, press the button next to the SD card to start again.
So there we have it. We've coded all the buttons, it's saved them to memory. It's given us the option to start over if we made a mistake by pressing the button underneath the car. And it also has given us the option to test any of the buttons, and we can test that. So if I press button 5,
Button 5,
button 11,
button 11,
button 1.
button 1.
So there we are. I was happy I pressed them all in the right order. I could test them all if I wanted to. But we now have a fully coded Batmobile. I think really what we need to do is turn the lights off and restart this and see what happens. You've got to love modern video cameras. I've turned all the lights off in here, and it's actually quite dark, and yet it doesn't look it on camera because of how great modern cameras are with light sensitivity. But let's get this Batmobile restarted and have a look at the startup sequence.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
And the Batmobile springs to life with the iconic batteries to power, turbines to speed from Robin there, and the headlights have come on. We've got the front markers, the rear tail lights. Our new interior light is on, as well as the dash, and we've got the Bat beacon has sprung into life on the rotating mode. And in fact, with the remote control, we can control that mode. We can press and hold number 4 and change it to the flashing beacon, or press it again and have rotating but without the side flashes. So there's all sorts of different modes you can have, and you can cycle through. We can also control the headlights. Now, the Batmobile rarely ran with its headlights on. It was normally just the front markers, whereas the stock electronics didn't allow us to switch off the headlights, whereas now we can. But if you want them, you can press button 7 and bring them on as well. You can also have just the headlights on their own without the markers, or you can turn them all off. And the bulbs gently fade out, which is really quite nice. There's lots of other little sound effects we can have. For instance, we can press number 5 and listen to the mobile crime computer, or if we hold number 5, we can toggle on and off the background sounds of the Batcave. Just quietly humming away in the background there. We can turn off the beacon, obviously, if we don't want to have it, and we can also press number 3 and listen to one of a number of different sound clips from Batman.
I fear at this moment, time's too precious to spend with our admirers. We must get cracking.
Well, he's not wrong. There's lots to see. We can press number 9 and actually put the car into a presentation mode where it will loop those audios, use the Bat phone and do all sorts of things, and it will do them in sequence periodically. So it will just sit in the background, just gently showing off all the different features. The Bat phone.
Forgive me for interrupting, sir, but it's the Bat phone.
And we've even got Alfred announcing that the Bat phone is ringing, which is really cool. If we want to, we can put the hazards on and they will sit there and flash. Again, it's a nice gentle flash, and it doesn't have that annoying ticking sound that the stock board had.
Come on, Robin. To the Batcave. We haven't one moment to lose.
And that afterburner effect will never get old. It's so much better than just a standard lamp. It really does look like a flame, and it's going to look even better when the piece that Mike's finishing making will go on the end of it. Now, we can do lots of other things. It will play the theme tune, it will also play internet radio, and it will play music off the SD card. But in order to use the internet enabled functions, we do first need to join it to our Wi-Fi, and in order to do that,
Batmobile will do the rest. Right.
exactly, so join it to the Wi-Fi, the Batmobile will do the rest. And in order to do that, first we need to get it into into the Wi-Fi configuration mode, and we need to enable Bat Wi-Fi. To do that, we press number 12 and we hold it for 3 seconds.
Scan for Bat Wi-Fi.
We can now take a mobile phone or laptop, anything that's Wi-Fi enabled really, and that can scan for Wi-Fi networks. We'll scan for the Bat Wi-Fi network, which is now being broadcast by the Batmobile. And once we've connected, you'll see it brings up this page here, and anyone who's got the kit, Ultimate Kit, will recognise this. We can go to Configure Wi-Fi in this Setup utility, and it will scan for all the different Wi-Fi networks around here and enable me to choose my own. So I can pick my home Wi-Fi, and I will put my password in. And that noise tells me that we've successfully connected to my home network, and it will now disconnect me from this Bat Wi-Fi, which is no longer required. And with the Bat phone now connected to the internet, it does a couple of things. First, I can now use internet radio using the number 6 button, but also I can now use the timer functions. Once connected to the internet, the Batmobile connects to a time server and sets its clock, and now it knows the date and time. So the very first thing we need to do is correct that for our time zone, because it sets itself to UTC. So we're currently in the summer here in the UK, so we're 1 hour ahead of UTC because it's British summertime. So how do we change the Batmobile? Well, it's pretty simple. The first thing we need to do is get onto the Bat portal. So with the Batmobile on the same network as my phone, because they're both joined to the same Wi-Fi now, I can now access the Bat portal. And the Bat portal is really easy to access. first thing we need to do is get any internet enabled device like my phone that's on the same network as the Batmobile, and we need to open a web browser. And in our web browser we need to type in the address bar http:// and hit return, and it's as simple as that. And what we will get here is the web page, which is the Bat portal. Now this is being served by a web server in the Batmobile itself, so it's not on the public internet, and it's nice and secure. So what can we do? Well, we can there's lots for you to find here, and I'm not going to show you everything, but we've got a little radar, we have a map of Gotham City, and we can actually drive a little Batmobile around that. There's some cool functions that I'm going to let you find out what they do yourself. But we can also control all the features of the model. So for example, if we want hazard flashes, we just have to press the button here and the hazards come on. If we want the beacon to stop, we can just or change its mode, we can change its mode. We can even sound the horn. So we can do loads of stuff in the Bat portal. But one of the things we can also do is set up some alarms and timers. So we're going to go to alarm settings, and what I want to do is first get the time set correctly. So at the moment the time on the Batmobile says it's 3:51 PM. Well, it's actually 4:51 here because we're 1 hour ahead of UTC, so I need to adjust the time by 1 hour. And that's really simple. There's a field in here called the GMT offset, and you just put in there a number of how many hours you are in front or behind of GMT. So we're 1 hour ahead, so I'm going to type 1 in that box, click go.
The time is 4:52 p.m.
And the Batmobile will announce the time, and it's absolutely bang on now, 4:52. So we can now go ahead and set up some basic timers. And the timer I want to set up here really is just a simple one. I want to turn the model on in the morning and turn it off in the evening. So I'm going to have it turn on at 8 AM. So we put an 8 in the hours, a 0 in the minutes. I'm going to tick every day of the week. And then I'm going to choose the action, and there's a few different actions I can choose, but then I'm going to choose model on and hit the add alarm button. And if I scroll now, I can see that it's added that alarm. But I also want to turn it off at night, so I'm going to go for 9 PM, so that's 21:00 because it's a 24-hour clock. We tick every day of the week again, but the action is model off and add alarm. So you can add quite a number of these. You can have one that switches on the internet radio every morning on a weekday at 7 PM to get you up for work. So those are my two automated routines for model on and off. And I've done all of that in my phone without downloading an app or anything. There's loads of other stuff you can do in the Bat portal, including uploading your own music files through the portal, changing the Wi-Fi setup, and just a little bit of diagnostics as well. So you can also use the Bat portal to upgrade the firmware. So if Mike releases a new firmware with some new features, then he can put that on his website. You can download it, push it straight into your Batmobile using the Bat portal. So really simple and really cool. So I think that's a great new feature, and it really does transform the way that we're using these models. The card explains all the functions of the Batmobile, and there's all sorts of functions. Some are single press, some are long press, some are extra long press. There's so many things, there's not enough buttons on the remote. So that's how cool it is. And obviously the Bat portal gives you even greater control. Now on the other side of the card we have the music control. So what those buttons do when you're in music mode, or playing music basically. So you can do things like adjust the volume. All of your settings can be saved. When you find your perfect setup, you can save them, and the next time you power the model on, that's the settings that will get loaded. And that's really quite useful because everyone's got their own way that they want to display it. So even if you use the timer to turn your model on, it will always choose your default settings to power the model up to. There are lots of unused sockets on the Bat circuit. You've probably seen there's lots we didn't plug anything into. Well, there's a good reason for that. Mike's already announced that there's going to be the Bat Dash and the mobile crime computer coming soon, and they are likely to have all sorts of cool functions, including a screen and other things. So the sockets on the Bat circuit are all ready for those two products, which means they're going to plug straight in and work. So that's really, really cool. that we've already got some future updates coming, and they're just going to plug straight into this existing bat circuit. So I really love how this is coming together, and I think these mods really add a new depth to the models, and they really bring them to life and make them feel like they're very animated, much more so than simply just being able to turn the lights on. So I can't wait to have a sit and play with this and just enjoy how it looks as it's starting to come together a little bit more. And I think we should probably end with, let's get that beacon going again, with the shutdown sequence, and actually see what everything looks like when we switch it off. And my neighbour started his motorbike just in the middle of that sequence. So I don't know if you heard it, but it sounded a bit odd, and I wasn't sure what it was, and it was my neighbour putting away. With the model in the standby mode, you'll probably be able to see that the interior light pulses just to show that the model's got power and is ready to roll. You don't have to have that turned on. There is a function within the config file to disable that if you don't want it. But I quite like it. It's very similar to the one that there is in kit, where it pulses one of the dashboard lights to show you that the model is powered up. So that is the end of the video, and here I am sitting in the dark still playing with this, and I think it's a great addition to the model and really brings it to life. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this guide was helpful. If you have any questions, please do reach out to Mike. He is really, he bends over backwards to help his customers. You will not be the only person on the list, so don't be impatient if you don't get an immediate reply, because you know, he has a lot of customers. So if you've tried contacting him a few times and not heard anything, well, there's a possibility that your email didn't get through and it's stuck in spam somewhere. So try the chat function on his website. That works really well. In the meantime, enjoy your modelling, enjoy your building. Can't wait to see all the bat circuits coming to life, all the different posts going up showing all these models finally getting the electronics they deserve. So have a great day. Don't forget to click that subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Take care.
Cruising through Gotham in the dead of the night, twin pipes, howling eyes locked on the fight. Sat on the console, mighty and magnetic, the bat phone's waiting, cool and kinetic. Yeah, it rings, it sings with a fiery glow. When justice calls, you already know. Bat circuit's alive, synced up tight, bat phone's flashing through the night. Bat phone, summon the night. Bat phone, flashing so bright. Leaving the cave, hitting the streets. Engine roars to Gotham's beats. Flashing red with a hero's reply. The bat phone's lit and it's time to fly. On the console ready to shine, a red hot relic with justice on the line. When darkness falls and crime takes flight, the